The Viking class is a decent damage dealer with average durability. It has decent growths in initiative, physical attack, and average growths in most other things. Its health and durability are kind of average. The physical attack is decent. Its accuracy is kind of average-ish. Evasion is okay, crit is okay, guard rate is okay. Nothing super standout. It's kind of like a generalist that does damage and has row attacks. Alright, so if this thing is the party leader, it allows the unit in question to break gates and barricades more easily. So when you bump into gates and barricades, you deal increased damage to them, destroying them in significantly fewer pinballs, as I like to call them, because as soon as you touch a barricade, it pinballs you off and you bounce off in a hilarious fashion, almost like in a cartoon. But it also has 6 stamina and 100 mobility as the party leader. So definitely on the slower side. So if you wanted to break gates without using valor abilities, what you could do is run all the way up to the gates and then switch party leaders, like being a faster thing. Now that'll cost you 1 valor point, so you're probably just better off using an ability. But that's one way to do it quickly and try to leverage their leader effect. But valor skills are definitely much better. Alright, so for its abilities, Smash. So this is from House Carl. Some of these are from House Carl, and the higher level ones are from Viking. So Smash, 100 potency, 100 hit rates, attack a single enemy, inflicts defense minus 20%, so it's just a basic hit that does okay damage. Now 100 potency for 1 action point isn't really big value. It's just like the bare minimum of an attack. The debuff is kind of nice though, but for later fights where there's 4 and 5 man enemy teams, it's not the best ability. Rolling Axe, this is definitely where you start getting value from this class. Attack a row of enemies with multiple hits, inflicts defense minus 15%. Now it hits for 40 potency with 75 hit rates, but it hits 3 times. So you're looking at 120 potency per target, but the reduced hit rate is typically what will keep this kind of not popping off unless you use like spectacles to improve your hit rates, or true strike from like a witch buff or something like that. And we do have a witch in this party because I'm going to show like an example build. But this is like the first big attack this class gets, and if you hit fix it, it's really good and does pretty good damage. And if you also roll for crits, it can be quite valuable because each hit rolls for crits. We have Wide Breaker. This is one of the Viking attacks. So 2 action points. Attack a row of enemies, inflicts physical defense minus 30%, plus 50 potency versus debuff targets. So this is a debuff, and also if something else debuffs them, it has 150 potency and also scales damage on future attacks. This is where the class starts to contribute seriously to damage. And Rolling Axe is kind of like a precursor to that, where if you can hit fix it, it's kind of similar. But this is really where you start getting huge value, because you get a pretty huge, like substantial defense debuff, 30% minus 30% physical defense, and also 150 potency. And it combos well with other classes that inflict enemy party debuffs or row debuffs. Then we of course have Parting Blow at the end of combat, 75 potency attack a single enemy. There are better things to do later on because you should not be waiting for the end of combat to get an attack off, but if you have to, it's fine to have. But beyond that, it's a decent skill. Frenzied Strike activates after an ally is hit by an attack, so this is a counter attack. 50 potency, counter attack a single enemy, inflicts physical defense minus 15%. So this is decent. It's nice to have built-in counters for when you need damage or when you need to change the RNG seed. So when you attack things and when you have team fights, there is an RNG seed that has like kind of predetermined results. So like, for example, if a hit that's not 100% is determined to miss, that could be the difference between winning or not. So like switching this on could allow, like it can move the miss over to an enemy who doesn't have a 100 hit rate, and then all of a sudden you hit and it completely changes the outcome of a fight. So things like this actually are quite valuable. And also, even though it's just like a chip damage hit, it's still something and could lead to a kill. Warhorn activates at the start of battle. This is also big value for just negating guard. Makes all allies' attack skills unguardable. Now, there are certainly better at the start of battle effects, but this is a pretty good one, especially in a class that's a generic and not like a unique class. So Warhorn is quite good for just opening up enemies to the Viking itself, as well as other units on your team. Okay, and then of course it has Vitalize, which is also pretty big value. Restores 2 stamina to allied units within range, and it only costs you 2 valor. Now, when you're playing the game, stamina is one of the most important things because you cannot move if you're at 0 stamina, and waiting at the wrong time could cause your units to die. And of course, there is the 5 item limit. So having a single group with a Viking in it allows you to restore quite a lot of stamina to as many units that you can get deployed and within range of this ability. So it's pretty useful for pushing maps and beating maps quickly. Even if you just deployed the Viking, if you don't even plan on using the Viking, just run it to deploy as like a support group to boost stamina and then undeploy that group. Even just that is good. All right, so I'll show 2 example builds. We have the Giant's Great Axe, which gives max HP plus 20, initiative minus 10. Attack a row of enemies, inflicts stun. So this is decent for shutdown and control to prevent enemies from doing things. Stun allows all of your units to go before stunned units, which is huge. So row stun is quite good. Now the initiative reduction can be counteracted by equipping the Kakaius shield. I want to say that's how you say it. It gives you a nit plus 10. The hasten cover isn't something we really care about. We just care about the initiative plus 10 to counteract the Giant's Axe. This, I believe, is a relic from getting, I think, like an angel. It's near the end of the game, but there's other shields you could run alongside this. Like anything that gives you initiative, I believe there's at least like one. Let's find one. There's gotta be another initiative shield somewhere. Accuracy, evasion. Let's see. Yeah, here's one. Here's Vorpal. It gives you initiative plus 3. It kind of helps counteract it. And then we would have to run like Dove Plume, assuming, or not Dove Plume, Angel Plume, assuming that you don't have an Angel Plume on someone. Now the idea behind this build is that you would be going for a fast row attack that stuns to shut enemies down. And you could do it twice. So you have Ruby Pendant so that you can do it twice. And then of course, you could Tailwind if you want. You could Frenzied Strike as a counterattack. You could Warhorn. Parting Blow probably shouldn't be happening if you're taking this like aggressive approach. But this is the idea that it's a self starter that has good initiative. It's not the best initiative, but it's good enough that it should be going before most things. And of course, after it goes, you can Tailwind. And you're just going for a stun. Now, if we want to just go for damage, let's actually run this. You just want like a pure damage build. Let's see, let's find the most damaging shield here. Just looking through them all. This one's quite nice. Follow-up attacks. Now, I don't know that this really wants follow-up attacks. You could run Wide Pursuit. I could run Wide Pursuit. That would be a different build. You could run a Wide Pursuit build and be decent, so there's that. But let's say we want to run, I guess Vorpal Shield's fine for just some initiative. And we don't need Plume on this build. Pendant we want, and we want the Amber Eye Lens. Let's take that. Alright, actually what we want is a passive point shield for this particular build. We do not want initiative minus. That is the last thing. Azure Crest would be fine. Alright, so we would turn off Warhorn. Parting Blow we don't need. Okay, so 35 initiative. That's respectable. It's not the best. This is what the build would be. It's a Rolling Axe build. Alright, so here's what we would be doing. We would be going for Rolling Axe. So attack a row of enemies with multiple hits. We're using Amber Lens to give ourselves True Strike and guaranteed crit. And then we're also running something like a Witch to Thunderous Conferral us. And then the Witch could also do something like this. She could Tailwind. So let's see. Or you could have someone else Tailwind if you want to do it twice. So Tailwind back row. So she could use her ability. Maybe we make her a little bit faster. It's about as fast as she can get. You could use someone faster to Tailwind, so like the Witch could be on Conferral, and then you could have someone else Tailwind both of them to get them up to 50 initiative, which should be enough to get them attacking. He'll get up to 45. She'll get up to like 51, or maybe like around the same, like 50 something or 48 or so. But you would use the Witch to Thunderous Conferral him, so that when he Rolling Axes on crits, it stuns, and it is a true hit. And then it also inflicts debuff. Now you could arguably drop this for something else. Now there's like a key item that's going to be highly contested, but you could, if you want to min-max this, run him on the Warrior's Medallion, which is very highly contested. I think it's from the arena. Not the Warrior's Medallion, the Hero's Medallion. It gives you physical attack plus 20%, AP plus 1, passive point plus 1. And then running this gets him, you get 3 rolling smashes, you could Hawkeye twice, and that gets you 2 row attack, guaranteed crits, true strikes, which could be pretty big value. Alternatively, you could Warhorn. You will lose, if you don't want the crits, you could run just the basic Sniper's Lens rather. So then it only costs you 1. So you use 2 of your passive points to Warhorn, so your attacks are unguardable, and then you get True Strike, and then you just Rolling Axe with True Strike, which could be decent. And then you could Rolling Axe with True Strike once in this case. Now you could run a different axe that gives passive points, but you don't want one that hits your initiative or your health, I would say. Because you'll die from spam, so you don't want to necessarily do that. Looks like our best options, probably the Thorn Axe. You could get away with running that as long as the dude is safe. So you could run something like this. That way you can Warhorn and Eagle Eye twice if you need it. If you don't need the Eagle Eye, your life is much easier. But typically, because Rolling Axe is only 75 hits, you're going to kind of want it. So these are just some example builds. Of course, you could always just go for Wide Breaker, drop the lens, run whatever axe you want, and then just go for, you know, whatever utility you want to run. So that way you Warhorn, then Frenzied Strike at least once, and then you have the Azure Shield just to give you +1 passive points. So you can do more than just Warhorning, and then you can Wide Breaker twice, which is decent. Now you could try to do some kind of self-buff. Let's see, there's the... Now Pursuit, you could do Pursuit, but I'm looking for the specific weapon or specific item, the Dancer's... It's Dancer something, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's one of the Dancer's items, and it allows you to get crits after you attack, but it's probably not as good as Amber Lens, honestly. You could also run this, Ancient Crown, just get some more stats, get that damage up, get more passive points. Allows you to Frenzied Strike more. That could be decent. Of course, you could switch your shield to something different as well. So counterattack skills deal +50 damage, parrying shield. Activates for being hit by melee, negates melee damage for a single hit. This could be quite good. So what this allows, counterattacks deal +50. Parry is a counterattack. I'm sorry, Frenzied is a counterattack, so you'd have 100 potency. So this is kind of like a dueling build, and then maybe you disable Warhorn and you're running some other start of battle effect. This could be decent as well. Now the Ancient Crown, I know you're wondering where you get this. You get this from the Frostlands in the north from a treasure map. And then the King's Axe you get from the Drakenlands from doing the carving, ancient carvings. And then the Parry Shield I think is also from the Furry Lands. But pretty good combo here. This also gets you more tanking. So if you want to be like a more of a frontliner, you can actually parry and like kind of stay on the front line so you can parry. And it also gives you more action points back. So if you wide breaker, you're down to two action points. And then if you parry, you're up to 3. And then if you parry again, you could potentially wide breaker 3 times. But at the very least, you'll get a rolling axe out of it. And as long as you have some decent accuracy, you can hit with this pretty consistently. So Ancient Crown gives you +5 accuracy, as does the King's Axe. So if you want to run something like this, you can. Now, obviously, Berengaria is a better target for both of these items, but this is a decent filler class for extra units, and it does not really compete directly with some of the best classes in the game, but I'd say it's like an A-tier class that's pretty good. It's totally viable, can stomp certain comps, has pretty good options. It has Bro Stun as an available thing, but it needs initiative fixed. It has pretty good row attack with defense debuff. It has good counter potential. For counter attacks, it can equip this parry thing and do quite a lot, and also combo off of it. And you could even run like a parry setup where you just get max passive points and just go for counter attacks, as well as single hits or row attacks. But yeah, that's it for Viking. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.